Here, not bad today. All right. See if anybody's showing up. I thought I heard the door. Yep. All right. Call to order for Monday, October 21st, 2024. Planning Commission meeting. This is going to be a special meeting for today. This one is outside of our normal first Monday of the month. So I'm gonna do a quick roll call, but just point of preference, we do have some folks that are absent that said they're coming in late. So as a housekeeping note, once they come in, we'll make a note saying that they are here. And I think the chairman is on his way as well. So I'll turn things over to him once he arrives. But do a quick roll call. Commissioner Beisel?
Present.
Commissioner Borka?
Present.
Commissioner Young? Commissioner Russell?
Here.
And I'm here. We have quorum, 5 members here, 5 out of 7. According to the bylaws, we can enact business for the town. I want to do a quick vote for the adoption of the agenda. The agenda should be in front of everyone for tonight's meeting. Quick vote. Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Borkel?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Beisel?
Yes.
And I approve as well. So the agenda is adopted 5-0. Since this is a special meeting and we will have a presentation for the comprehensive plan update, I want to open it up for public forum, public hearing, and that we will open it up at 5:38 for public hearing. And with that, I want to turn it over to town staff to give us the update. Plan.
Mr. Chair and members of the commission, tonight we have RHI and their partner consultant here to provide information on our comprehensive plan update and also to help us in a discussion regarding the documents that were provided. And there's some questions that were also provided. So I'll turn it over to RHI.
Thank you. And hello, it's good to meet with you all again today. And I'm Eric Feldman from RHI, and I'm joined today by Eden Merrick, also from RHI, as well as Renato Coletti from RK&K, our team's transportation specialist. And the purpose of today's meeting is to share some progress since our last meeting and in developing the comprehensive plan. And in particular, we'd like to get your input on the draft vision and framework for the comprehensive plan. So we will focus our discussion on that, but there will also be time for any other feedback on the draft issues and opportunity summaries for each of the plan's chapters, which we also shared with you. But getting into the vision and framework, the vision and framework provides an overarching storyline, if you will, or big picture ideas for the plan. And we want to use this meeting as a check-in to make sure that we're on the right path before completing the more detailed strategies and actions for each of the plan's chapters. And in the materials we shared with you recently, you'll see that we prepared a few questions for you to guide the discussion today, but we would welcome any and all feedback from you. And to start, I'm going to turn it over to Eden, who will briefly provide a few updates on other materials that we've been developing, and then we'll provide an overview of the vision and framework before opening things up for discussion. So with that, I'll turn it over to Eden.
Great. Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So our last meeting focused on highlights from the existing conditions analysis and the first round of public engagement. And so we updated the existing conditions summary and we finalized the round 1 public engagement summary based on your feedback from that previous meeting, as well as feedback from the town. And so 2 of the supporting documents that you were provided include the updated existing conditions document, which is pictured here on the screen. I'm just flipping through it very quickly. It's very similar to, the summary that you received before, with just a couple of edits to that. And then as well as the public engagement summary that is also included in your packet. And that was just finalized as well to be provided for you. You were also provided, and Eric alluded to this, a draft of list of issues and opportunities for each of the 9 elements of the comprehensive plan. And so these are not final, and we welcome feedback either during the meeting or afterward via email. And these will be used to develop the recommended strategies and actions. And the key issues and opportunities from these lists will be also included in the comprehensive plan. We used these issues and opportunities, particularly the ones from economic growth, from land use and livability, and also from from transportation and infrastructure, which is the one at the end of the packet. We use primarily those to help develop the overall vision and framework that we will be talking about today. So I am going to hand it back over to Eric, who will introduce the vision and framework.
Okay, the framework we're sharing here articulates, as I mentioned, the overarching vision for the plan across the plan's 9 chapters, but with an emphasis on the core issues of land use, transportation, and economic development. And it provides also the organizing structure for the plan-specific recommendations. And this reflects ideas generated through the existing conditions analysis and also prior planning efforts, the feedback we've received from the steering committee, council, and the public, and also most recently the outcomes of a work session that we held as a consultant team along with town staff to develop this framework. And I'll just say that we like to include these types of frameworks in plans in order to communicate where a community wants to go in the future and the big ideas associated with getting there. One could think of this as the main storyline or narrative arc of the plan that clearly communicates the town's vision in terms of where you want to be in the future, the key components of that vision, and then provides direction for the specific strategies and actions to realize that vision. And we find it's an effective way to communicate the spirit and intent of the plan to the public and other users of the plan before diving into the specific actions and the details of the plan. So we're thinking it will likely go up front in the plan before each of the individual chapters, and establish the broader themes that will carry through the whole document in each chapter of the plan. In terms of the vision piece of the framework, there are 3 interrelated themes or vision statements that express the overall vision. The first builds on the name given to the plan, Destination Dumfries, and the idea that in the future, Dumfries will be a destination, a place to live in and work in, a place to go for a range of other experiences, and not just a place to pass through. And so this will include the idea that the town will be a destination for recreation, entertainment, shopping, dining, employment, and other activities. And as it becomes a destination, this will diversify the town's tax base, and it will support both existing businesses and the creation of new businesses, and also employment opportunities. The second theme centers on what Dumfries offers residents, and the idea of creating a complete community that addresses all resident needs. And this includes thinking of Dumfries as a place to live, to work, to play and relax, providing a range of housing choices for residents and prospective residents, supporting existing residents while becoming an attractive place for families and young professionals. And also leveraging the town's environmental and recreational assets, as well as other nearby assets surrounding the town. And then the third piece of the vision is that Dumfries will become more accessible and connected via all modes of transportation. So this would focus on creating more connected and complete street networks that serve all users, prioritizing pedestrian and bicycle mobility, also connecting neighborhoods with local destinations, and notably the east-west multimodal connections, which we heard a lot about. We've since translated this vision into a more detailed framework concept, identifying the key components of the vision. And I'm going to turn it over to Eden, who will talk through this a little bit more detail. And then we'd love to hear your thoughts and have a discussion with you. So back to you, Eden.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to skip past pages 2 and 3, though those could be useful if while I'm talking you want to refer to them. There's some precedent images that correspond with the different map components, so feel free to flip back and forth. But I'm going to be on page 4 to talk about the map here. So the framework map contains 6 major components. We have mixed use hubs, which are in red. There are 5 of those. The existing residential, which is in a light yellow, which is throughout the town. We have the residential infill, which is in kind of a light orange yellow color in the southern end of town. We have the multimodal connections, which are depicted by dark blue arrows, and the Blueway Greenway trail system, which are depicted by green arrows. And then finally, we have kind of a variety of some key natural resources that are represented using a couple of different greens and blues, different patterns in greens and blues throughout the town. So I'll start by talking about the mixed use hubs. And again, I'm just giving an overview of each of these. There's a little bit more detail on pages, the 2 pages right before this, and feel free to flip back and forth as I'm talking. So the mixed use hubs depict the recommendation that the town create and market 5 distinct hubs to boost economic growth and provide the town with employment, retail, recreation, and residential opportunities. These are all based on a variety of things. So based on existing land uses, based on planned projects, recently completed studies, aspirational land uses as were expressed by people through the engagement process that we held, and other conditions like the market analysis and review of existing conditions. And then one note is that these names are preliminary. And so if you feel that there is a name that better reflects the spirit of each of these areas, please do share those with us. These were just draft names. So starting with Main Street at the center of Dumfries. The Main Street hub is envisioned as a vibrant mixed-use center that is a civic and cultural focal point for the town. It uses the opportunity as well with the Route 1 widening project to create a public realm that is more focused on the pedestrian experience and really builds on all of the existing community facilities that are there, like Town Hall, the Cecil Garrison Park, the Community and Cultural Arts Center that's there. So that's kind of the overview of the Main Street hub. Just to the south, we have the Gateway hub, which creates a synergy with Main Street. because they're so close and welcomes people entering from the southern end of town. This hub focuses on fostering a live-work environment by including a mix of retail, residential, and office uses. And it also envisions the redevelopment of the two shopping plazas here to help make this a reality. Up at the northern end of town, we have the Rose, which harnesses the energy created by the Rose Gaming Resort, which offers a mix of uses and attractions such as dining, entertainment, and a large new recreational park on the southern end of that area. The waterfront over on the eastern end complements the Rose by offering a nature-focused mixed-use destination and maximizes the hub's location along Quantico Creek. And so pending the results of the environmental study in that area, this could feature uses such as a boutique resort, a cafe, boat rentals, water access, boardwalk trail system, things like that. And then last but not least, we have the Junction up at the northern end of town, which builds on the existing auto-oriented uses and to offer things like fast casual dining, electric and gasoline automobile fueling, things like that. It also leverages its proximity to the junction, which is where the name comes from, of I-95 and I-235 to house some light manufacturing and distribution, potentially, and also maybe some hospitality and higher density multifamily residential areas. Okay, and then so that's an overview of the 5 mixed-use hubs. The other map components include existing residential areas, which are all throughout the town. That recommends the protection and enhancement of existing neighborhoods and housing options to protect the small town feel and also help keep housing affordable within Dumfries. And then in the southern end of town, we have 3 areas that are adjacent to existing residential neighborhoods. There are great locations for expanding residential options to, again, help keep housing costs affordable and also support economic growth in the town as it grows. Some residential developments are already going in these areas already, and so this reflects changes that are already occurring or planned in the town. The multimodal connections, again, those are the dark blue arrows. Those are all about creating a transportation network that supports all forms of transportation and also connects to the regional transit network. And so the idea here is to create a more connected network of roads, both north and south, and then east and west, and to create people-centered streetscapes, particularly kind of looking at Main Street and potentially along Route 1. The Blueway Greenway system uses the existing network of utility rights of way, as well as the waterways throughout town, which already are pretty much surrounded by resource protection areas. That's the green hash. To increase connectivity for pedestrians and cyclists, both for recreation and for travel to destinations, so you don't have to jump in the car to, bike over to Main Street to get your shopping done rather than having to drive over there, if that's possible for you. So the key here again is that we're looking at gaps in the north-south and the east-west connectivity and filling in with those pedestrian and cycling options. And then finally, we have natural resources. Those depict some of the major assets that the town should protect and provide access to. There's a really, as you know, really nice array of parks that the town has, an incoming park as well. The creeks and also the wetlands and near the former Deepwater port. So that's just an overview of the map and those main 6 components of the map, and I will turn it back over to Eric to kick off the discussion period. And Eric, you're
Thanks, Eden. I'm just going to briefly run through the questions we had outlined for discussion, and then we'll turn it over to you. The first question pertains to the vision statements on page 1. The framework articulates the overarching vision for the plan, encompassing the plan's 9 chapters. Do you think the 3 vision statements or themes reflect your understanding of the towns and residents' goals for the future? The next 2 questions focus on the components of the framework, the map and additional components, and whether these accurately capture the land use, transportation, economic development priorities that should be highlighted in the plan. And what we really want to know, is there anything missing? Are there modifications you would like to suggest? Other ideas to add to it? And then the third question was, which of the framework components that Eden outlined should be given the greatest emphasis or prioritization in the plan? We'd like to hear your thoughts on that to guide the emphasis as we continue to develop the strategies and actions. And then finally, if you have any specific feedback on the issues and opportunities for each of the chapters, please do share those as well. But we'll also, since there's a lot there, be happy to accept additional comments afterwards if you need more time to mull that over. But with that, I'll turn it back to the commission, and we'd be happy to go through each of these questions one by one. But if there are any initial feedback or ideas that any of you would like to share, we can start there. Just I guess a time check. Do we have a hard stop at a certain time?
Yes, we do. We have a hard stop at 6:30 this afternoon.
Okay, great.
So with that, I will go ahead and we'll go around the room for commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Borka. Anything for the consultant?
Sir, can you note for record somebody came in?
Yeah. Oh, for record, Commissioner Diaz did arrive at 5:40, just for the record. Yeah, okay. For Commissioner Borka, any questions or comments for the consultants?
So I don't like rubber stamping anything, and I like to question everything. But I did find the package as a whole very complete. This presentation helped answer some of the questions I had, because when it says Dumfries is, well, we're not there yet, but to understand that it's writing the is as a future tense use of the word, that helps me a lot over the past couple of days of looking through the documentation. And I would note for me, I think that there's a lot of things. If we refer to the map on page 4, Dumfries has a lot of work going on with the widening project and with the rows. The widening project has a lot of pre-work being done, and it's going to take a number of years for that to for everybody to see and actually drive down that road. So that being the case, I think that a lot of emphasis should be on Main Street and the secondary part on the waterfront, because the roads is already being developed, and the junction and the gateway are highly dependent on the county and the progress of the road widening. So we're sort of at their progress reports on how far they progress or how quickly. I think we better control what happens on Main Street and the waterfront. Obviously, the waterfront's pending some things being done there, but I think the vision of what we can do wouldn't necessarily be hindered by the widening project, for instance. And things we can do on Main Street wouldn't necessarily be hindered by the widening project, whereas the junction and gateway absolutely are hindered by the widening project. So those are my thoughts. I yield.
Thank you. Commissioner Borka. Anything from the consultants you want to talk through that? What do you mention?
I'm sorry.
Do
you
you
repeat
want to discuss anything that Commissioner Borka brought up?
No, I think we are in agreement. I mean, I think one thing about the is that, remember, this is a 20-year plan, and it's, where the town wants to be when we reach 2044. So we need to think about the full vision, but I agree that the real opportunity in the near term is Main Street, and laying the framework for the transformation of that corridor as the widening project is implemented and the traffic patterns change, and then as well as the waterfront area, and we I think we also agree that there's going to be hard to implement some of the other areas until the widening process is implemented, including the junction and the gateway area.
Commissioner Russell, any thoughts for the consultants?
Yes. Yes, I appreciate the work that's been done here, and I have to keep reminding myself that this is a comprehensive plan and not to get stuck into the minutia of the nuts and bolts of what will be and like that. But some of my observations on this, and this is mainly from the map, is I realize this is a general overall map, but I also know that these colored blobs are going to help move policy forward and what we're going to be thinking about doing. With that said, the Rose development, I realize it is 100 acres there, but the portion that is going to be a park, I don't think is really represented here on that. And I don't know what impact that will have on future policies. But that's one of my comments. The other comments I have are with the connections that we're showing, whether they are the multimodal or the greenway system, I understand, like, the ones going under 95 goes on to the other side, but where is it going to? What is it connecting to? I find that also when you take the one all the way down to the end of Possum Point Road, what is it trying to connect to? What is there that we're connecting to? My one comment is, and like the other one that's coming down from the waterfronts and down to the RPA area, are there Prince William County facilities that we're trying to connect to? Are there other Prince William County? I see, like, you have Prince William Forest Park shown on this map, which is very good, but I don't see that we're connecting to that. And I realize that may be more of a 234 route that's going to connect to that. But I guess for me, I want to see, what are we trying to connect to? What are these connections connecting? And I realize this focus is on the town of Dumfries, not Prince William County. However, I think for context, understanding the densities of the residential areas adjacent to the town of Dumfries and the commercial areas adjacent to the town of Dumfries would be helpful in context. And I don't know if it is this map that needs to be shown, but I think that context needs to be shown somewhere in this process. Another comment of mine is the definition of the mixed use areas hubs, the residential protection areas, and then residential infill areas. With that, I question, what does that mean? Does that mean that in these residential protection areas, are we not looking to change density, residential density in these areas? I think that may be something that we want to look at, in that I know in the Tripoli Heights area, that was something that was developed in the late 40s, early 50s. And, you know, originally it was supposed to be two residential subdivision lots, and then one side got developed and then the other side became the manufactured housing and like that. But the question is, if we, with our policy and with our language, are we limiting what those future residential uses are going to be? I'm all for preserving and trying to maintain the sense of the small town of Dumfries, but also looking at it from a development perspective. And if you're trying to get developers in here, not to limit that. All right, you can't build anything. All you can do is infill lot. You can keep the exact same lot layout, but you can't look at doing any other type of housing there. And I'm not saying that's what this policy is saying, but I just don't want to limit what can be proposed. And I think that's something that we need to think about moving forward. And I realize, again, that's part of what I call the minutia, but starting to think about those densities that we want, and also overall. And I realize next process, what are the heights of these buildings? What's the massing of these buildings that we're looking at? What is the corridor of Main Street going to look like? I know that when we were looking at other developments on Main Street, we had a developer come in and he was saying, "Oh, we'll put 8 stories," and then for context, you know, that's several stories higher than the existing telephone poles that are out there. So you start changing that height, you start changing the character of what Main Street's going to look like. And I realize other places like City of Falls Church, they've done that. They along Route 7, and they've made it work. But I think those are things that we need to be thinking about. And again, it may not be addressed in this plan, but my concern is that the language that we're using and what we're showing graphically may limit what we can and cannot do in the future with our policies and with our development. So, but other than that, I think this is done very well.
Thanks for that feedback. I'll respond to a few of your comments. I'll also let Renato chime in if there's anything related to the connections comment. But I think one I think overarching point that I think addresses a few of your thoughts is that yes, there are a lot of details and nuances that are not reflected in this. I mean, this is these are the broad brushstrokes of the plan, and then as we get into the strategies and actions, we'll be addressing some of those nuances and details. So I think it's totally valid that you know, the residential preservation areas you know, don't need to remain exactly as they are now, and that's not the intent, but more that those areas will remain residential communities that will provide, you know, housing options for Dumfries residents. And I think in the strategies and actions, we can develop that idea that there is that opportunity for change as opportunities arise, you know, with an eye towards, you know, continuing to provide quality housing options and perhaps even diversifying or infilling housing in these areas as needed. But for the overall narrative, the idea was that, you know, the plan seeks to preserve the housing that exists, but you know, there will be opportunities for, you know, change in the future, obviously for, you know, 20 years into the future. And so we'll certainly clarify that as we get into, you know, the specific recommendations. Similarly, the park, the Rose development not being well represented, we had some discussions about that, and for just pure like graphic reasons, did not highlight that, but we have talked about perhaps pulling out sort of an overlay map that sort of talks about the open space network more holistically and shows shows the interrelationships and the connections. And so that's, I think, something that I agree needs to be pulled out more as we develop this further, as does, I think it's a good comment, the context and really relating it to the context, even if it's in the county rather than the town. And then Renato, do you have anything wanted to add on the connections piece?
Yes, definitely. Thanks, Eric. What I want to say is that, yes, in this map, or the framework map, we have basically everything on one place. But as we move forward to the future conditions of the comprehensive plan, I think it's great feedback. What you mentioned about specifics, or where these connections are heading and what are actually going to be connecting with the town, at least the ones that are outside of the town, of course, not within. So that is something that we can definitely put on a map and be a little bit more nuanced. So yeah, I that's very good feedback again, and thank you.
Russell, any rebuttal?
Can I have an alibi follow-up on that?
Sure, go ahead.
Just while we're at this, on the map, the blue lines seem to indicate actual roads like 234, Route 1, more structured. Are the green lines suggestions of how walking paths could be in the future? Are they general squiggly lines connecting areas? Just the green lines sort of confuse me a little bit, not just where they're going, but what the purpose is of them swooshing through the map.
I believe the purpose is to depict places where people were able to access, just as pedestrians or bicycles without needing motor vehicles. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Ian, but I believe that's the purpose of the green lights. The green arrows.
Yes, sorry, I was trying to unmute myself.
Okay.
Yeah, so the green arrows lines are not along existing road networks. They are generally following those utility rights of way or waterways. So this is land that is generally owned by the town and would be available. As far as destinations go, you're so right that this one that crosses under I-95 along Batestown would be for accessing Prince William Forest Park. This one that ends down here would just kind of end within the residential neighborhood that allows for residents to then access other parts of the town. That's kind of the similar idea for a lot of these other ones. This one that goes through that cuts through the Main Street hub, it is the destination would be kind of the Rose and the park associated up there. These lines are also based on the proposed trail system maps that were provided by the town. So pulling from the ideas from the proposed trail network. And then down here along Possum Point Road, yes, this is a little bit more general. There maybe is not necessarily a destination there. There could be, I guess, if there was some water access. And just a reminder that this is a combination of recreation opportunities through the Blueway Greenway system, as well as getting to destinations to be able to do shopping or getting to school, things like that.
Thank you for the explanation.
All right, Commissioner Young, any comments, questions, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And thank you for the presentation. This is good. I do have a question regarding the waterfront. Just ask a question. How much land or acreage has been, or do you foresee being committed to that particular project?
I think I can't give you a a specific number right now. I think that's something we'll need to talk through with Reggie, as well as understanding the results of the environmental studies that are underway, and what is ultimately developable for various purposes. So I think that's a question we can look at further, as far as a more detailed land use map, what the best guess would be. But I don't know if Reggie, you wanted to add anything related to that.
Sure. The current owner of the property owns about 167 acres. And of that 167 acres, approximately 14 or 15 acres are truly developable. And the balance would probably remain green space or recreational space.
So is it the town's, I guess their foreseeable plan is to buy the whole entire lot and use the rest as for recreational space as well as for the waterfront space, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm looking at the existing area right now and seeing exactly what you have on your diagram from Williamstown Pool. And I know this is just a simple diagram from Williamstown Pool to where this waterfront is. And I'm looking to see exactly on which side of this land it's supposed to be on. Is it on the side closest to Williamstown Homeowners Pool, or on the other side of the creek? No, you know what? I'm sorry. I see it. It is on the other side. Okay. Okay. I have no questions. Thank you, my time.
Commissioner Niez, any comments, questions?
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation, for the details. I like the plan. So I have a question regarding the framework, all the details of the 9 elements. So how about the outside? So the town is developing, of course, old areas going up, and with old traffic and old green area, everything else. And how about the other houses here, lots of old house and everything? That's also needs to be developed, or what is the plan for that? Anybody can give me an answer?
I'm sorry, could you clarify which areas you're talking about?
We are talking about these 9 elements is inside, right? That's the framework, will be guidance, all the details on the map and everything. And how about the area like outside the map? These are very nice developed, but we do have very old houses and, in the area too. So is there any plan for that to make sure all the result will be nice in the whole area?
I see. So yeah, so you're speaking about the area within the town of Dumfries that is not like shaded by something that falls into a mixed use hub or existing residential area. Yes. Okay.
Not only looking at develop the new one, right? We have to make sure others are all on the match in the future. Like you have the new houses and new building, everything. How about the old ones here in the whole Dumfries town hall? Everybody came through and see all those. They should have any plan for that as well.
Yeah, I think that the comprehensive plan will develop a vision for the entire town. And the idea for the framework was to shape what that story will look like by highlighting some main changes that could take place. A lot of the town is actually just highlighted as existing residential areas. So the light yellowish green color is just existing residential area to be preserved and also enhanced is the language that's used right now. There's actually very little of the town that doesn't currently fall into those specific areas. I'm looking at, I guess, this area between Main Street waterfront and the junction, and this area just a little bit to the north of the existing residential over by the elementary school. We were trying to keep this as really as general as possible. We didn't want to get into, okay, this block falls into this blob and this block doesn't. So I would take it with a grain of salt. But Eric, I don't know if you have anything to add to how this kind of sets the scene for the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, so I think this is focusing, the framework is focusing on the key elements, of the plan, and, the big changes that the plan envisions over the next 20 years. We will be revisiting the land use map, which is more parcel specific from the last plan, and updating that as needed. And there will be, as needed strategies and actions focused on some of those other areas. So we're not ignoring anything that's not shaded in here, but more wanted to kind of pull out the main ideas before we get into the parcel specific details.
Okay. And also, okay, so you have all these plans, okay? So we have usually what is for the next 20 years, we're waiting for everything finishing. So do you have any like specific, what do you started first? Let's say we're going to start with the road, of course, we have to, because that's connected with Prince William County. After came in and we finished the road and everything. And then the next step is we're going to finish the green, or which one we're going to go, or are we going to start everything together?
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's going to be, I think, our task as we complete the detailed strategies and actions, and particularly working with RK&K and Renato in terms of thinking through those key actions that you need to act on now to start advancing the vision for the future, and which ones may be dependent on other actions further into the future. So we'll be trying to identify those priority actions and implementation steps, in timeframes, whether it's short term, medium term, or long term. So that will be described in further detail in the implementation plan for the comprehensive plan.
Okay, so my last question for the whole plan is, so when you are doing all these developing for anything, right? So you have to make sure the whole safety and the security issue, because you can see it's coming for like a lot of places is tore down and rebuilt and stuff like that. And then we can see when we are coming into the town, you can see right away on your Passing Point Road on the corner, everything is, it looks like sometimes in the evening you feel like the safety will be considered, and also the safety when you have the new roads come up. So everybody's concerned about that. So how are we going to plan for that when we are doing all these developing? So
thanks for bringing that up. We'll certainly make sure that we address safety and security issues. I know that police emergency response issues have come up through this process already, and we do plan to include some recommendations regarding those. But we welcome any specific thoughts you have on safety and security, so we can address those concerns specifically.
thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Diaz. Commissioner Beisel, any comments or questions?
Yeah, so this plan looks really cool. It is exciting to get a very visual idea of what we are going to be working on here. So do particularly like the Blue Way and Green Way system. That is something that will connect the town. I know that right now it is tentative somewhat on some of the plans and some of the destinations that will be there. But there's a great need for non-automobile transportation in the town. We do see, elderly people walking on the shoulder of 234 or on the shoulder of Route 1 rather. And some of the other commissioners have good points that with some of the widening projects, some of the projects, including those blue ways and green ways, may not be able to be developed in their entirety right away. But getting a jump start on some of those, especially I think it looks like some of this may go underneath of the power lines. And having a power line trail would be a great way for people to travel north and south through the town. There is definitely a good point to the fact that the waterfront could be developed sooner because, it's outside of that widening project. It sounds like a lot of that use will be for, recreational outdoor park, maybe a boardwalk or over the marshy land there. I'm not sure if there will be planned to dig out and deepen some of the creek there. Some of it, and I've been into the woods back there, is rather swampy. But that said, I know it was at one point a deep water port, and I know that if you develop it, and having a waterfront, having it deep enough, I'm not sure what it would take to get it to be at the depth that would be needed for that. As far as the gateway goes, this is, I think, one of Dumfries' most populated and well-traveled areas right now. The most businesses that are seeing traffic, I think, are in the gateway right now. It's very dated. It is mentioned here that there will be idea to redevelop Dumfries Shopping Center and also Triangle Plaza. I don't know if that entails tearing down the existing buildings and rebuilding them from scratch. I personally wish it was that easy. And because of the dated nature, I think it'd be beautiful to start from scratch in those areas and just build some nice shopping centers. But obviously, somebody owns those businesses. So there will be some challenges there. That said, I'm not sure if redeveloping the gateway itself or Dumfries Shopping Center is truly dependent on the widening project. Maybe that parking lot is, but the actual strip mall there on that side with the grocery store is well in a distance from the road, and I think that project could be started sooner. So I know a lot of this meeting in general is really talking about, hey, what should we start first? I mean, that is kind of, I think the point here is what can we do? What's going on right now? And does this vision reflect the town and our interests and what priorities do we want? So I do second, again, I'll reiterate the fact that the waterfront right now is kind of open slate. I don't think there's a lot of roadblocks keeping us from developing that area. The junction is torn up right now. It's under construction. I do think that area can come up quickly. But the gateway, I think, has a lot of opportunity for making the town immediately more beautiful. If that one or if those two shopping centers were extremely beautiful right now, I think the whole town would have a different feel. Main Street in itself, I see more people traveling through Main Street and not stopping there for destinations. So while that does have a lot of potential. Personally, I think the Gateway has a bigger potential. And finally, I've noticed the word amphitheater and concert hall mentioned a few times in different places. There's talks of now amphitheater in the waterfront. I've also heard of an amphitheater in the Rose development. I think as far as being a destination for Destination Dumfries, an amphitheater is a great way to hold events. For example, Kamala Harris herself was in town in the last couple of years, and she was behind the fire station off of Graham. What was that? Africa? Yeah, she was near Gin Memorial Park. But an amphitheater could provide concerts and community gathering events, and so I love the idea of having some kind of amphitheater in the town for Destination. So. Yeah, overall, the Greenway system, that is something that, you know, again, that's non-automobile traffic that's getting to and from where you want to go without having to hop into your car. That does make for a healthier community. And also it does help the lower income families get to the places that they need to go safely. So I'm very supportive of the Greenway system. Overall, I think the plan looks great. Obviously, we've got older neighborhoods and things that can be reworked and that, but the face of the town on the 234, or sorry, I keep saying the Route 1 corridor here, I think that is what makes Dumfries. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Beisel. Like I said, we do have a hard stop at 6:30, and Commissioner Russell pretty much said everything that what I was going to say as far as my thoughts. But even though we have that hard stop, I want to give the chairman a chance to offer his thoughts. I know you're coming in and sort of getting your bearings, but do you have any thoughts on the update for the comprehensive plan, or any questions or comments for the consultants?
Yes, I do. And I'm going to make this quick because I trust all my other commissioners here, and I'm going to have a conversation with them about what has been said tonight anyway. But one thing that bothers me that I hear is a 20-year plan. I don't know what all else was said, but that 20 years doesn't set well with me in any kind of way, whether it be Route 1 widening, whether it be the development of all the rest of this stuff. 20 years is just too long. I've been in construction for 42 years, done multiple projects, residential, commercial, 1,500 houses in one whatever it is, a year and a half, 2-year projects. 20 years to do what I'm looking at here, even with the logistics, it just doesn't map up to me. 6-7 years to do the Route 1 widening, that doesn't map up to me, especially when you look at how quick things were done north and south of us. And trust me, I'm going to get all those numbers and timelines and starts and this and that and the other. And I'm going to aggressively have some conversations with people from the county as well, because our residents and us as commissioners here, we don't deserve this wait. And as far as these other properties, these older properties, they're owned by other people, whether they're commercial properties, residential properties. You know, it's these owners' responsibility to maintain them or provide the upkeep. If the Rosies hadn't came in and did what they did down in the one shopping center, that wouldn't have had a facelift. So it's frustrating to me that this town is as old as it is, and people that have owned businesses or, you know, strive to do business here or whatever, haven't put more into their own establishments. And I don't know what we're going to be able to do. you know, whether it's to incentivize them some kind of way or to look into other ways to see how other localities get things done to move things along. But this 20 years is not, you correct me if I'm wrong, I came in on the tail end of it, but when I hear 20 years to do all this and a town that's not this big, it's just not acceptable in my eyes. And then I'm looking at everything as far as what we're looking at with the development and you know the planned usage. Some of this was part of the original plan. A lot of it got taken out when the developers were here that we have here now removed a lot of what we were talking about doing. So I'm going to get with the commissioners and see what was said and what their comments were as well. But I will be getting back with you guys. And I just have a hard time with this timeline. And I can go on, but I'm not.
One thing I will clarify is that the 20-year timeline is that's the time horizon that the plan, comprehensive plan looks at. And so it's supposed to cover a 20-year time period, look that far ahead. That does not preclude setting goals for short-term actions and what you want to achieve in 5 or 10 years. And that's certainly something that, if there are immediate goals that are priorities that, and changes that the town wants to see and, the shorter medium term, then we can certainly make that a priority in the plan, so that it's not the 20 years is not a deadline by which change, will happen, but more that it's kind of a larger time horizon that we need to look at, like what are immediate changes and what are longer term changes that will require more time. So
when you say
point well taken.
Short and medium term, what are you referring to time wise in short to medium term?
We can define that, but I would say, I mean, the short term would be 1 to 3 years, 2 to 5 years, and then the medium term is that 5 to 10 year, and then the longer term would be anything after 10. And then that's something that the plan can distinguish between, and if there are immediate changes that are more like in the coming years to strive for, then that's completely appropriate in a comprehensive plan. And we've done comprehensive plans that have focused very much more on that shorter term horizon, and that's something we could certainly do here, but while keeping an eye on that full 20-year period that a comprehensive plan is supposed to look at. But thanks for those feedback.
Good. All right. With that, I want to say thank you to the consultants. They closed the public hearing. Public hearing is closed at 6:38. And one thing I want to do for a matter of housekeeping, just to keep it clean and consistent, chairperson is here, but I want to close out the planning commission meeting for this meeting here. Once we do our supplement meeting, I'll have the chair, we'll have him start a new meeting for the bylaws with the town attorney. So we have that one right after this one, correct?
Yes, but it won't be the bylaws. I'm sorry. It'll be Robert's rules.
Robert's rules. Okay. Okay.
That'll be a totally separate meeting.
Okay. All right. So we'll close this one out. Quick vote to adjourn the meeting. Can I get a motion for adjournment? All right. Second one, I heard two, so we can go in a second. All right. Quick vote. Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Borkel?
Yes.
Commissioner Beisel?
Yeah.
Commissioner Nias?
Approved.
Chairman Nickerson?
Approved.
The meeting is closed at 6:40.